Good evening, good morning, good whatever time it is, wherever you are. Happy to have you here. I'm going to be keeping an eye on the chat here, so if you want to ask questions or anything, feel free to drop in. I'm going to give everybody, let's see, we'll start at 1:35. Give everybody time to kind of get in here, ask any questions, and then we'll start the conversation and have some really cool stuff to show you guys. So definitely excited. I have the glass of water. No Tipper parade going on over here, but we are excited. Been working on this a long time. It's been several months of completely rewriting TypeRocket, pretty much from the ground up. Just to take things to the next level, to bring it to a pro level. So looking forward to talking about that here in the next few minutes. Curious, who here in the chat room is already using TypeRocket? Also curious if anybody is new to TypeRocket. Anybody have their location, where they're from? Anybody outside the US, Europe, anything like that? Love to get a shout out from where you are. Super excited you all can be here. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get going since we have a little bit to cover. But I would say that there is a little bit of lag, so if you leave a comment, just kind of keep in mind that I'll get to it as quickly as I can. But yeah, super excited to have everybody here. So welcome. And today is, make sure I do this right. Today is about the pro developer experience when it comes to WordPress and what that looks like. And so some things that I know about you guys and gals is that you really strive for excellence in pushing, the boundaries of each project that you take on. We know that pro developers really understand the complexities of crafting experiences that both achieve business goals, but also the technical ones. And so when you're building out your projects, you often run into disconnected tools. And it's not that any of these tools are bad, they're actually all very excellent. But what happens is the combination of all of the tools don't really work together in terms of user experience and developer experience. So on the user end, the design doesn't always match depending on what number of plugins you have, and then things can just get really messy, and it's not an elegant experience. It's not very what we would call pro, which is what you guys are after for sure. And so that is a problem that we want to solve. Because ultimately, your time is super important. You have things to get done, and you have projects that you want to complete. You want them to be very good. But you spend a lot of time kind of cobbling these different tools together, reaching for different ones, and you just end up wasting a lot of time when you don't have to. And so that's why you've told us you love TypeRocket, particularly version 4, is it brings these pieces into one place. But we wanted to take things to the next level. And so I'm introducing to you today, as part of this soft launch, just a little sneak peek before February 12th as to what TypeRocket has to offer. And so TypeRocket Pro is a new product, and it is for the pro WordPress developer. So we're super excited to show you guys all the really great stuff that we have. And I'm going to cover some specific topics that pro developers want. The first piece of this is keeping your site elegant. The next is your developer experience to be modern and powerful. And then the sites that you build, you want them to be fast and you want them to be secure. So without further ado, let's look at what it means to make a site elegant. So I'm going to jump right in to TypeRocket Pro and give you a first look. So here is TypeRocket Pro, and you'll see that the design updates according to the user profile scheme that they have selected. So if they want a different scheme, let's say we want this midnight here, I'll go back to theme options. The design now updates to work with that particular profile scheme. If I jump into a field, you'll see that the fields highlight with that specific color. Any unique elements highlight. And then on top of that, we even given you new design custom fields, and we'll get into this in a little bit, but we have a new swatches field. So you can create beautiful swatches without any effort at all. And then also this background image selector. So if I insert an image here, media library, I can see the background image that I'll have, and then I can also, with this little tool here, pick the focal point. So I'll click on this little yellow watering can here, and then whatever the screen size is, that watering can will always be the focus. And then you can use these X and Y coordinates, for example, inside of your templates to show your designs. We also have links. These have been updated. So the new search field, as you search, the interface has been updated to follow the profile design. And then it's also keyboard accessible. So that's a great feature. As part of this, everything inside of TypeRocket Pro is accessible, which means you can use it on any projects that require, I believe it's WCAG 2. I'm not sure if there's a 3 yet. There probably is. But WCAG compliant and Section 508 compliant sites, TypeRocket can work for you. And then we've also have other fields. Select boxes now work with chosen, so you can make them selectable and searchable. So that this can really help increase the user experience and customer experience for all of your sites. And other design enhancements, as we'll see, we have a table here that's searchable, but we've made sure that the tables are responsive so they don't really break your site. So all the tables that you put on your site work beautifully. We also have an APIs tab here if you're wondering, but nothing too crazy there. So this is just a quick peek at some of the design features in TypeRocket Pro. But you'll notice that this new tab design is quite nice as compared to what it's been in the past. And we've added these little touches everywhere in the site. So you have that unified, beautiful design. So I'll go here to all pages, edit one of these. If I scroll down, you'll see that the new SEO plugin also has the beautiful design applied to it. So we've talked about TypeRocket and how it's elegant. But I'd like to talk about how we've made it more modern. And this is something that's important to note about any type of pro platform or pro product inside of WordPress at the moment. You don't really have composer access. So you cannot run your installation process, your updating processes through Composer without some sort of validation or key licensing. But I'm happy to say that TypeRocket Pro, as a Pro product, will have access to Composer, so you can maintain that modern development workflow even with a Pro product. And there are other things that we put in place as well, which we can show you a little bit later. But for example, a new ORM. This ORM has been updated to have pagination, policies, and easily build APIs. So you now have more power than ever to create anything that you want, pull data and work with it from your database however you like. We also provide new routing system. So I'll jump over to that. And let's check out the new routing system. So here I have a custom route in TypeRocket called Hi. And if I jump over to the plugin here and do this, we'll see that we have this custom route. And it has a little bit of regular expression here, but all it's saying is this last parameter is optional. And if you've come from TypeRocket v4 in the past, you know that you need to add this declaration called Kevin to tell it that the variable name works here. But in TypeRocket Pro, you no longer need this parameter. TypeRocket Pro automatically adds in whatever it is over here and pulls it into the page. So I'm going to save this and then go back to the browser. And then we can say Kevin, and then it will say, "Hi, Kevin." But what if we wanted to create a JavaScript or a JSON API out of this endpoint? Well, we can do that with TypeRocket Pro, easier than ever. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the plugin here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Kevin, and I'm going to do post. I'm going to pull in the post model, and then we're just going to return this. And essentially what TypeRocket's going to do is it's going to take whatever this argument is and inject it into the post model and automatically look it up, and then we're going to return it, and it's going to send us a JavaScript or a JSON API. So I'll save that, go back to the browser, change it to ID1, and now we have a JSON API built out of the model. Super powerful, super easy, no fuss at all. And with TypeRocket Pro, there's even more that you can do with routes. So you can also now provide your own controller classes. So if you had a controller, for example, let's say it's my plugin, and then you might have a method on that plugin called, let's say, post, and then that would also pull in the API. So you can easily add routes that customize and work directly with your plugins that you build with TypeRocket. So there's a lot there, but that's just routes and models. Again, the controller upgrades we've seen, but we've even gone even further. Of course, the CLI for TypeRocket. So we'll look at the Galaxy CLI here. And this is again part of the modern toolset. As you'll see when you run the Galaxy command in TypeRocket, it automatically loads in the WordPress functions. No more do you have to set up a custom configuration to get WordPress integrated into TypeRocket. It automatically works right away. And you can even put WordPress into maintenance mode now and flush your permalinks and download WordPress, a fresh install on your particular site super easily, along with even more make commands, including policy and service. Just to show you, we'll do PHP Galaxy WP maintenance. Okay, and then maintenance mode is enabled, so I'll jump back over to the site, refresh, and the site is briefly unavailable. Run the maintenance command again, and we're no longer in maintenance mode. So again, excellent features as a part of TypeRocket Pro. And you may have noticed something else. Beautiful errors. No longer do you have to deal with basically a white screen of death or just text. TypeRocket includes whoops for PHP, which allows you to see exactly where your errors are in real time whenever you're developing. So here I can see that this error is a part of my route, and I can dive through each one of the particular files to see where things are happening. Now this particular error has occurred because we changed the code for our controller, so I'll save that and update the page. Oops. Let me fix this really quick. Okay, and there's our API again. So the next very powerful TypeRocket Pro feature is migrations. So let us look at those now. I'll go into this particular site, and then under the dev section, again conforming to that unified design, we can go to migrations, and here we'll see that our migrations have been run for this particular site, and that's using the TypeRocket Galaxy CLI to create those. And so if I jump over to the code here, you can see a migration. And inside of the 2010 theme, I'll go to Database, Migrations. And here we're just creating a simple table inside the site. And then once that migration is run, it'll show up inside the backend so you can tell what the status of your migrations are. So that's the new TypeRocket migration system, and that's built right into the database, which means you can deploy TypeRocket Pro on multi-server installations now. Okay, so that's a bit about TypeRocket being modern. How about powerful? How powerful can we make TypeRocket? Well, we've added so many features to make TypeRocket powerful, eliminating your need for numerous plugins, again, that lead to that disjointed design. So let's take a look at some of these super powerful and new features in TypeRocket Pro. So one we've already seen is the SEO plugin, which now integrates with any custom resource that you might create. So it's no longer, the SEO system is no longer limited to post types. You can literally use it anywhere you like on anything that you like. But beyond just SEO being more powerful out of the box, the page builder has also been completely revamped from an accessibility standpoint. So if we go to the TypeRocket page builder and we add new component here, we'll see that we have this clone feature. So if I create one here and then clone it or duplicate, we'll see that that particular component has been duplicated. So I have two copies of it. Not only that, but TypeRocket, again, is completely keyboard accessible. And then another cool feature is we've included a new and improved WYSIWYG editor as a part of TypeRocket. So this is Redactor 3, and it's integrated right with the WordPress media library. So you can now add images into the WYSIWYG editor that comes with TypeRocket. But there's a new feature. One more thing to look at here, and that is registering custom post types. Now, custom post types are a regular part of the everyday developer's experience, including taxonomies and that. And often you don't really want to jump right into code. Maybe you want to experiment with a post type and kind of tweak it to make it work. And there's this back and forth that you go through to kind of work that out. Well, in TypeRocket Pro, we provide an interface that allows you to create post types and taxonomies, but with a finer level and more powerful level of control. So not only can you create post types like this book post type here, but you can fully control everything about it. You can control whether it shows Gutenberg, if it's hierarchical, taxonomies that you provide. You have, oh, I don't even know, 300 plus icons to choose from for your post type. You can also play with a query, so you can customize exactly how you want your query to work for the front end. You can control the interface, whether to hide it from the admin, show it, or hide it from the front end. The placeholder text, and that happens to be the text when you add a new post type. It says add title. You can control that placeholder text there. What it should support, again, using multi-select with chosen, and you'll have access to this as a field as part of TypeRocket. You can add custom supports. You can choose the menu position. Columns, you can add database columns. So if I had a custom field for this post type called job title, or maybe author, then that would show up as a custom field column. And then you can add what type of field it is, if it's an image attachment, a URL, and if you want to be able to sort by it. So if I save these changes, you'll see that there's a confirmation box. And now anytime you create a TypeRocket form, you can choose if you want confirmation to be part of the process for saving a form. This is an upgrade to the form system, making it even more powerful. So we'll save that. Taxonomies are automatically flushed. Under the advanced section, just before we leave, there's other options here, and we'll get into custom capabilities a little bit later. But if I go back to the post type, we'll see that there's this new author column. So now I can see the author of this particular books, if it was a custom field within the backend. And that's the post type UI. So as you can see, TypeRocket is even more powerful than ever before. And actually, I do want to show you one more thing. And that is conditional fields. This has been a huge request, and you may have already noticed it from the TypeRocket community. And so here we have custom fields enabled. So if I toggle this particular item, this field, company open, a new custom field will be shown. Okay. And if I jump over to the code, we can take a look at that in action. So I'll go over to theme options, close the terminal here. And you'll notice that we have the toggle button, but then this office hours piece has a when method. And essentially it means whenever the company open toggle is true, then to show this field. But it can be for any field. It could be for company name. So we'll save that. Refresh the page. And then company name is filled out, so office hours still shows, but now it's not. And we can go even further than that. I believe it's contains. So whenever the company name contains pro, we will show the toggle pro. And this works for so many different fields. In fact, something even better than this is TypeRocket Pro doesn't just make fields conditional. You can make entire sections conditional. So let me show you what I mean. Let's change this from this to the entire field set here. So we're just going to do company open. And then this link section here will get shown and not shown based on that. So you don't have to target individual fields. You can target entire groups of fields or sections of content. So let's take a look at this. Refresh the page. Oop. Need to make sure I'm showing the browser here. So let's do company open, and we'll see the links here. company not open. The link section is completely gone. So it's very, very easy to have conditional fields set up with your site. And we'll be adding more and more sections that will be conditional. Now you may have noticed when we were looking at this, the form system has been upgraded. So you can create field sets with forms, which is very nice. So you can group fields together in a more elegant way. And then you'll also notice that the tab system has been completely rewritten. So you can highly customize your tabs within TypeRocket. And there's no crazy enable UUIDs like in TypeRocket v4. It's just completely fluid and no fuss. And you can add anything into a tab. So once you've declared your tab name and icon, you can start putting in any type of content and it'll add it to the body. So here we have a table. And here's the new table system for TypeRocket. All you have to do is pass it a model and it will build a table specifically for that model that's searchable and completely customizable for you. Okay, so I'm getting a little far on the powerful piece and there's so much more I'd like to cover, but that will be for another time. So let's take a look at the security features that come with TypeRocket Pro. Whoops, sorry. Let's take a look at what makes TypeRocket Pro faster. So one of the things to remember here is that when you're using multiple plugins, you're loading code that each plugin needs for itself that it could have possibly been used by another plugin. So you end up with plugins creating similar functionality, and that bogs down your site. And plugins really work hard to do their best to cut down on this. But ultimately, when things are disconnected, you end up with this bloat. And this bloat slows down your site. And this can be a very big problem. Now, TypeRocket fixes that because it's one system to really help you get everything that you need, and we can reuse everything very elegantly, so we cut down on the code bloat and how things load. But TypeRocket Pro takes things to the next level. The ORM can be used to eager load any type of resource, and then that resource, such as posts or metadata or users or whatever it is you're loading, can be stored into the WordPress object cache. And so the ORM is fully integrated into the WordPress object cache, allowing it to excel the speed of your site to the next level. And so what that looks like is we've had sites where we've applied the Pro logic to it. And for pages that might have had 200 queries because it wasn't optimized, we were able to write one line of code with TypeRocket and bring that all the way down to, say, 30 queries. So it's extremely powerful. But we don't just give you speed in TypeRocket. We also give you insight into how your site is performing. So as part of Pro, you get this new toolbar. It tells you how your site's performing. I have Xdebug enabled for PHP, so things are a little bit slow. But as you can see, we can dive in and see all the queries that happened on this particular page. And I can dive into the call stack for where that query came from. And this works not only in the back end, but also in the front end of WordPress. So I can see how this particular page is performing. And I can also flush the rewrite rules with one click. This makes it super easy when you're developing post types to not have to go and scrounge around with different menu items. So again, we're giving you more tooling to help you with speed. And you can look at all of the different settings for your site. So you can look at the images and the different image sizes that are registered with this particular site. So if there's optimization here that you might see that you need, you can quickly at a glance see that maybe images are bigger than they need to be, and you can optimize those now. So all these tools are included right there with TypeRocket Pro to make things faster. And many of the sites, I shouldn't say many, all of the sites that we have developed with TypeRocket Pro score on Google between 90 and 100 for both mobile and on desktop in terms of page speed. Again, this isn't a shared host that we're using, of course, but with TypeRocket Pro, things are fast. When compared to alternative solutions, typically the Google PageSpeed score is in the 30 to 60 range, if not lower. We've seen some that are like PageSpeed 9, but we know pro developers are not doing that, so that's not really our baseline. So that's a little bit about speed and making things fast with TypeRocket Pro. Well, what about security? With TypeRocket Pro, again, we've taken security to the next level. It's really amazing what you can do now. So let's jump over to the browser. And I'm going to take a look at this custom resource that we set up. You saw the migration for this earlier. It's this test system. And I can click in and see the different tests, and you'll see the design of this is quite nice compared to maybe your past experience on this. And if I look at tests, I can hit the delete button here. And maybe I want to delete the record. But when I hit it, it says not so fast. And I'm sure I want to delete it, but it says again, not so fast. So what's going on here? Let's jump into the code and check it out. Again, this is the TypeRocket security kicking in to protect your site from people who you might not want performing a specific type of action. So if I go into the app folder here under controllers and go to this test controller, I'll scroll down to delete, and we'll see that we load a test here. And inside of this test, we check and see if that model can be deleted by the current user. And essentially what we've done is we added a policy system into TypeRocket. So that looks like this. It's called your auth service, and we have services now inside of TypeRocket that load into dependency injection container. So that's super exciting. But ultimately, what it means is we can take our test model that's being used and apply a test policy to it. So if I go over to the test policy, we'll see that anybody that tries to delete and it grabs the current user, we're going to tell them that they can't do that. But if they have read access, maybe they can. So if this user is capable of reading, and this works similar to how roles and or capabilities work with WordPress. So if we do that, refresh this page, hit delete, and then it says test not deleted. If I hit this, delete record, the test is deleted and I'm redirected back to this page. Oops, I need to put you on the browser here. So let's try this again. Let's add a new test. Hit add. Okay, I'm going to hit delete. Hit delete record. Our error is gone. If I hit delete here, the record is now deleted. And that's because we have access. So jumping back to the code, this is great because what you end up with often in controllers, if you're trying to lock things down, are long strings of, capability settings. So it's like current user can, and then you have a string of multiple of these declarations right in line. So this really helps contain your logic for access, essentially, and authorization for certain things. And you can create your own policies. So you aren't limited to just delete, update, create, and read. You can create your own called, let's say, custom. And then if I go back to the policy, or sorry, the controller, instead of saying delete, can they do custom? And that would work the same exact way. So that's policies inside of TypeRocket Pro and the next level of security that you have there. And then on top of that, we don't have time today, but there's the capabilities that we talked about, which is you can access user capabilities from here, but we also have a new roles system. So you can create new roles easily within TypeRocket and really fine-tune who and how data and users can be used and accessed and updated. We also have a new kernel and middleware process. So whenever you're creating custom resources, you no longer have to create middleware to work with it. Middleware will automatically be applied as needed, and that includes the WordPress REST API. And the middleware itself has been updated to no longer try to do what policies have done. So you can now use policies as you'd expect a policy to work, and middleware as you would normally expect middleware to work. So again, all new layers of security to really lock down your application however you like. And your routes can select middleware no matter how you have them defined. Middleware can be defined for anonymous functions, for call anything that's callable, or how you're used to declaring TypeRocket custom routes. Again, you have less plugins, so your site's more secure. There's less places for vulnerability, and because you get to code most of your stuff if you want to, you can respond to security threats and fix things. You're not waiting for a plugin author to fix something, which is really awesome. So, TypeRocket. TypeRocket Pro. It is elegant. It is modern. It is powerful. It is fast. It's secure. It is a pro product by the very definition for you, the pro developer. And there's so many features that we haven't covered. But I'm sure you have one question. Price. What does TypeRocket Pro cost? Well, let's examine the landscape of pro paid plugins. Okay. And this is what we're estimating if you were to pay for, say, 2 pro plugins, maybe a custom field plugin that's pro, and some other plugin that's pro, whether it's an SEO plugin, a page builder, something like that. So we've really reduced the cost. The cost for this could be much higher. But on top of that, on top of the price that you would pay for pro plugins and pro setups, you'd also have to have numerous free plugins without support. So while you're paying a significant amount of money for a single website, you also don't get the level of support that you need for the entire website, particularly if something's broken, or you might want a new feature. You might not hear back from the author of that plugin. Also, other paid plugins, they don't have that composer access. So it's not real, they aren't really built for the modern developer. And there's ways to get around it, but ultimately you might want updates as soon as a patch is available for security reasons. Maybe you want updates to happen automatically, and all that's a little bit more difficult if you don't have something like Composer. And then if you have multiple plugins, a lot of things going on, your time managing it all is spent. So that's another $59 to $99 or more, depending on how you're set up, or if you do project rates, how that gets into there, whatever your time is worth there. So for a single site, it's easy to say that you would be spending $157 to about $200 or $198 for everything that you needed to try to get close to what TypeRocket Pro is offering. So what does TypeRocket Pro cost? So we've worked really hard to bring pricing down to help you to also provide the level of support that you need and the level of pro that you need from a product. And so for a single site, it's only $59 per year for the single site. If you want up to 7 sites, it's $259. And if you want unlimited sites, it's going to be $459. Now, the site and the store will open softly for everyone here soon, but some things to note. There's going to be a Slack channel for pro users. If you're in Slack, just message essentially and say, hey, I bought the pro product, and then we'll drop you into the special pro chat room. And that Slack channel is available to all versions. Plus and Max get email support, so you'll be able to email us at the TypeRocket email. And then what does support include? Again, that's feature requests and bug fixes. Unfortunately, we can't provide support on necessarily how to build your application or debugging your specific application. Again, bugs with TypeRocket and features that you need within TypeRocket Pro, we're happy to address those as part of support. And again, we'll constantly be building new tutorials, videos, upgrading documentation, all of that as part of the Pro product. And this is a big reason why we wanted to take things Pro, is we want to provide that level of support that you need when you're building your sites professionally, either in enterprise and small business or creatively in your own sites. So let me go click a button real quick. Okay. And you can buy it today. So we're accepting credit cards and payment through Stripe, and you can head over to typerocket.com/pro to check things out. If you have any issues with it, feel free to Slack us. I know most of you came from the Slack channel, so that's great. If you're not part of the Slack channel, just jump in there if you have any questions regarding support. And again, February 12th, we're going to be building out a lot of things. So these particular pages and the store is set up specifically to help you get into the door first. And that's a big part of what today's about, is helping you to get first in line to get a hold of TypeRocket Pro. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them in the chat here. And so I'll take a quick Q&A session. And again, there will be a little bit of lag in between you sending questions and that kind of thing. But open for questions at this point in terms of TypeRocket Pro and what you can do there. Make sure. Yep. When you purchase TypeRocket Pro, you'll be given access to the Pro docs, the documentation for Pro, and you'll also have this account page. So actually, I can show you that now. I'll jump over. Let's share Chrome here. Let's head over to account, and you'll be able to go to this account page to log in once you have access. So I'll just sign in here. So you'll have access to your account once you're logged in. You can view your licenses. You can manage your subscription. You can view the details of your particular installation, and there you'll have access to your license key and all that kind of stuff. And then the Pro docs, under the docs, you'll see Pro. And here we have full documentation for almost everything that you need to know to get started, including installing TypeRocket, whether you're using the plugin or Composer, and several tutorials. One of the tutorials is the system that you saw, or the documentation pieces is resource pages. So if we go here, this is that test setup that you had seen earlier, and this has been updated. This is not the same as the version 4, okay? So good question. Will there be support for hooking up MVC layers into basic templates? The answer to that is yes, and I meant to cover it, but I forgot. So let me show you that really fast. Let's go to this setup here. Okay, so here is, and thank you for your question, Chris. And so here is a template theme. It's an index system, and here we're using the TypeRocket HTTP template system. And this essentially integrates controllers right into your WordPress templates. So if this was single-myposttype.com or .php or whatever template it is, it doesn't matter. This is how you set it up, and you can import any global variables. So one of the benefits to this is it pulls you out of the global scope, so your local variables don't break anything, and then it also opens up you to being able to use TypeRocket views. And with TypeRocket Pro, there is an option to install Twig templates. So if you wanted to do that, you can absolutely use Twig templates. And so here we're passing some different variables into the template. So I'll comment that out. And then I'm going to jump over into Chrome. And okay, so we're going to refresh this page. And so here's the Pro page. And because we are inside of this template, I can now start taking advantage of basically error catching, which means that I can legitimately throw 500, 404, and 401 errors and then have templates specifically designed for those error types within the template. So you no longer have to deal with white screens of death, that kind of thing. You can really use TypeRocket to build out that type of functionality. So if I do a 500 error here and refresh the page, we'll see that we have a 500 error. Whoops. So let me go back to the code so you can see what I'm talking about. So here we're aborting and we're sending a 500 error. And then if I go back to Chrome, refresh the page, again, we have that 500 error. But I can also throw a 401 error. So 401, save that. And now I have a 401 error. Okay, and so that is the templating system that you can get into your theme, so you can start using views and some reasonable controller style methodology and that sort of thing within a template. And you can also load things out of the container. So if I wanted to get the current user, I could say auth user, grab that. Let's do, not even sure what this will do. Let's see. Okay, refresh this page. Oh, I aborted with 401. Let me get rid of the report error. So here you go. There is the particular user in the API terms. And obviously you would want to hide the password in your APIs, that type of thing, if you did this type of setup. So there, that's within the WordPress index template. We were able to have a TypeRocket API set up. So that was very powerful. Question from Jay. How does pricing work if we start using single and then upgrade to max? So the first purchase is applied when you choose to upgrade. So you can start off with single, and that's kind of the idea behind the single and licensing structure, is you can kind of just upgrade when you need to. If you bought multiple single licenses, you cannot combine those into substantially discounted setup. So if I was to have a product that was purchased, I would be able to manage my subscription, I believe, here, and then upgrade from here. If it's not from there, then it's the licensing system. Yeah, no upgrades is available. So you could upgrade if you wanted to. And then let's see. Make sure I'm, share the correct screen here. So again, inside your account, you would go to your license keys, and then you would see your upgrades here. All right, and so that is that. Let's see. So a question about version 4 of TypeRocket. Is it still going to be supported? So yes, TypeRocket 4 will continue to be free. We don't want to disrupt anything anybody's doing, and it will continue to receive minor updates in terms of security, or if something in WordPress changes, we want to make sure that it doesn't fall apart. But all the new features that are large are going into Pro moving forward. So again, version 4 will remain free. It's just entirely up to you if you want to use Pro and all of the Pro features. In terms of upgrading from version 4 to Pro, Pro is, like I said, a complete rewrite, so it's not fully backwards compatible with version 4. It's recommended that you just start with Pro on a new project. If you want to migrate your sites from version 4, the best kind of way to go about that is you just set up a brand new project in Pro, and then slowly migrate each piece of your code into the system and test it and make sure that things work how you want. Keep in mind that the routing system and essentially everything has been updated and is just extremely powerful. And there's a lot more I'd love to show you, but we will, like I said, we'll be making videos and things like that to walk you through the different Pro products specifically for our Pro users. So again, thank you so much, everybody. It seems like no one else has any further questions. So yeah, thanks for coming to the TypeRocket Pro soft launch, and feel free to show up on February 12th for the TypeRocket Pro primary launch, where we will be opening it up to essentially everyone. And I'll be sure to drop a link, or you can again just go to typerocket.com/pro to get to the Pro product. So I'll drop that into the chat here. And okay, so without further ado, I really do appreciate everybody showing up today. I appreciate your time, and I really hope that the Pro product helps you do the things that you need to do as a Pro WordPress developer. We wanted to take WordPress